Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Texas Road, and a special good morning to everyone whose kids returned back to school today, by the way. Very happy about that. But tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got quite a bit to talk about, guys. We've been talking about the transfer portal, but we're going to start with something different this morning. And that's the freshman moving in that started yesterday. We put up a tweet from Turntime yesterday, Turntime's dad, rather. But Texas put out a video, and I'm going to put it up here for y'all. Of course, no sounds.
Love seeing this. All the kids coming in. They moved in on Sunday, Jerry. Is that accurate? Mostly Sunday.
Yeah.
Tyler Atkinson right there. A couple other guys coming in. Look, lost in the portal right now are guys that are making their first treks to Texas as Longhorns. There's Biles, some other guys. Look, Texas has a tremendous recruiting class coming in. And, Jerry, I know we talk about the portal because of the immediate impact, but some of these freshmen are going to be called upon to play some key roles early as well. I mentioned Tyler Atkinson at linebacker. If Texas is unable to get another linebacker early, Cozy Akpala, and Rocky Cummings, all of them are going to be guys that may need to be used almost ASAP once they get on campus. What do you think of this new group coming in and guys that might play early?
Yeah, to your point, if Texas doesn't add another linebacker in the portal, true linebacker, Tyler Atkinson's a second-team player entering spring. That's where it's at. Look, I think Richard Wesley, Jamarian Carlton, I think those two guys have a chance to be really. Wesley has a chance to be, I think, a high draft pick. Carlton, it could be a really good fit in Will Muschamp's scheme. I think because he's going to end up being a 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 300-pound, 290, 300-pound player. So he can play that 5-tech, 4-eye type of position. That's where he's going to be. And I think he, in a four-man front, is going to end up being a disruptive 3 type of player. Jermaine Bishop. It's in portal season, some of these really, really talented guys definitely get forgotten about. Jermaine Bishop could impact this Texas team. He could easily impact winning next year for Texas in some form or fashion. If it's a wide receiver, he's a big play waiting to happen. If it's in a return game, right? You could go 2 punt return guys at times. There's so many things you can do with a weapon like Jermaine Bishop. This class has a lot of talent to it. We wanted to give them their just due because it's a big day in their lives. Number one, this is one of the biggest days in their life. At this point, Derek Cooper obviously will get a chance to be an inside runner. But it's a big, huge day in these guys' lives. Moms were letting go for the first time, letting go when a Derek Cooper goes 1,000 miles away, 1,200 miles away. Richard Wesley, the same. It's a pretty big day for these families. And these guys it's going to be so interesting to look back on some of these body transformations too, under Torrey Becton between now and August, because that's one of the things we watch with these freshmen when they come in, is what do they look like 6 months from now?
I'll give you another one, Jerry, that not many people have thought about that could be an early play, guy that plays early for the Longhorns, and that's Samari Smoke Matthews, with the news yesterday that Warren Roberson would be putting his name into the transfer portal. Smoke Matthews is going to have a chance to be a second-team DB, a second-team corner next year, depending on what they do with Grayson Littleton at nickel and or corner. Bo Masco coming in as well from that vantage point. All right, a lot of recruiting news in the portal also to talk about today. We've got some other things we want to bring to you on this morning's Coffee and Football. But first, let's say thank you to our weekly sponsor every Tuesday, brought to you by our friend Rick Vavro and the guys over at Texas Road. Tony and those guys, your full-service solution for major road projects across the state, with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, and concrete and asphalt. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, reach out to those guys over at Texas Road if you have major road projects in and around the state. Again, Rick Vavro, and the guys at Texas Road.
And we want to thank them. Also, before we get into it too much, guys, I also need to thank somebody else. Rocky P in our chat of Bourbon Leather. He sent Jerry the corn dog hat last week, and he I tried to get mine up there. You are muted. He sent me that.
Man.
So thank you, Rocky P. I appreciate that. Really, really, really nice hat for sure. So
Hey, Rocky P, we got to get a Josie, Oregon Ducks fan, lose by 30 in the playoffs hat. That's next.
But
he's not here to protect himself. I love
it. Oh, all right, Bobby. Well, you talked about it a second ago, but a lot still going on, obviously, with the portal. What do you have for us?
Yeah, last night, probably a couple things happened yesterday. Let's get the paperwork out of the way. Cade Uluave, the linebacker from Cal, has signed with BYU. We had heard late it was going to come down to Michigan and BYU. He is a native of Utah, so BYU, home state school, we had heard that it might be moving in that direction. It ended up moving in that direction fairly quickly. BYU gets Cade Uluave. That takes a top-level linebacker off the board in the portal, and one that Texas was involved with. Next, we also had Wendell Gregory, the defensive end, Big 12 defensive freshman of the year at Oklahoma State, 4 sacks this year. He is signed with Kansas State. We had written yesterday on TexasFootball.com, it sounded like Kansas State and Texas were the 2 finalists. I think that it's possible that Zena Umozalu's return to Texas likely pushed Texas aside on that recruitment a little bit, or at least set it aside for somewhat. But Texas not getting Wendell Gregory, that means that almost everybody that has visited Texas to this point in the portal has signed or committed elsewhere, or signed with Texas, obviously. So this whole next week or 2 weeks of visits will be a new batch, so to speak. As it relates to the new batch, a couple things happened in the last, 12 hours. First and foremost, Jordan Seaton, offensive lineman from Colorado, one of the nation's top offensive linemen, expected to be a first-round pick in 2027. He's only a true sophomore, but he was the number 1 offensive tackle in the country coming out of high school. He has performed similarly at Colorado, even with all the issues going on up there. He is announced that he is going into the transfer portal. Now, I say that he has announced that, the difference being that he's not officially in the portal for 48 hours from when he turns in his paperwork. Colorado will obviously use that time to try to get Seaton to stay, in my opinion. Will they be successful? I don't know that. But until that point, Texas nor anybody else can actually contact Seaton and get the process going. I will say this. If he goes in the portal, Texas, I've used this term all season. I'm all off season. I'm going to use it again. Texas is all in, and we'll try to get Jordan Seaton on campus at the very least. Will they be successful? That's a different story. But Texas clearly all in this offseason. Second piece that I think is important to recognize, Delano Townsend, the offensive lineman from Ole Miss, that a lot of people are saying, oh, he says he's going in the portal. And this is indicative of what I've been talking about guys saying they're going into the portal, but don't. Okay. He announced on Saturday, Jerry, that he was going in the portal. Everybody said, oh, this is one Texas can get, and I said, I urged caution at that very time. Say, look, until they're actually in the portal, slow your roll.
Yeah.
And he announced his return to Ole Miss today. He is not going into the portal after all. So what we're seeing more than ever, and I'm not saying this has happened with Jordan Seaton per se, because I feel like Jordan Seaton's more of a Cam Coleman level recruitment, right, Jerry, where this is one of the best players in college football. Delano Townsend is a good player, don't get me wrong. But this is one of the very best players in college football. I see it more akin to the Cam Coleman recruitment than I do interior offensive lineman per se. So that all being said, don't count your chickens before they hatch on Jordan Seaton, but it is lining up to be a gargantuan recruitment, one of the top. I mean, I think he immediately went to the number 1 ranked player, by the way, available in the portal for a couple of different industry sites. just to give you an example.
And look, he should be. Look, I saw Seaton in high school at IMG, and he's a straight up stud player. I mean, he's got power, he's got body quick, he's got it all. It's just a great frame too. He's done. He's been coached up pretty well by George Hegeman, who was a former Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman, who was at IMG, used to be a big part of the ESPN Under Armour game and camps. He's now at Colorado. He's been coached up pretty well by Hegeman as well. So he's a guy that is talented as he was. All these guys still need development, and Hegeman's done a really good job with him from the mental side, from talking to people at IMG, and then still know Hegeman at Colorado. But he's a tremendous talent. He should be, honestly, the number one ranked portal player that's not a quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, I think he's that level talent. I think he's that much better than the other guys at his position in the portal. He's a legitimate football player, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Look, don't get out over your skis here.
Right.
Is what I would say. Let's see if he does officially go in the portal, and then I think it's a battle royale.
Yeah.
Because this will be, to Jerry's point, if you thought Cam Coleman is battle royale, and he was, this will be no different, because he is thought to be a first-round draft pick next year. And I'm telling you, Texas was ready for this portal season. I know a lot of people had doubts about that, but they truly were and are, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. So we'll see where this goes with Jordan Seaton. I know a lot of people will say, what position is he going to play? Is he going to play left tackle and then move Gooseby to right? He's going to play right tackle. What about Brandon Baker? And I know those are a lot of questions. Here's what I would say to that. I don't have the answers. I don't know that Texas necessarily has all of the answers. I know that Texas feels like if Jordan Seaton gets on campus, they're a better team. How it all works out, they'll figure it out. But you get a guy the caliber of Jordan Seaton, you're looking at a better football team overall, no matter what you're talking about. So that's where this is at right now.
All right, and I want to thank a couple of people because they were putting in super chats about Seaton. Big Poke, you put in one along with Damon, I also put in one. So thank you both. And then Jerry, you might as well just go ahead and get your lampshade ready.
No, I already saw it.
We got a big super chat here from Zach Harvey. Zach, appreciate you as always, man. He says, with Dia Bell coming in, what will happen to KJ Lacey? Obviously, Manning will go to the draft next year. Hook him from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Well, I don't know about Jerry, but I'm a big fan of KJ Lacey, irrespective of Dia Bell.
Yeah.
So to think that Dia Bell is just going to automatically come in and walk over KJ Lacey, I don't know that's going to be.
I don't think that's the plan either, Bobby. I don't think that's the plan. I think Lacey's a clear 2. I think the best thing for Dia Bell is redshirting, getting the full redshirt year, not getting hit for a year, and building his body up. He had bad luck injury-wise. His junior year in that playoff game, got extremely lucky. I mean, he had surgery, but it didn't end up being what they thought. Last year had something that that wasn't major, but they didn't want to risk it throughout the season, just taking hits. So I would say this. I think the best thing for a Dia Bell is to get the full redshirt year, develop his body, don't take hits for a year, just develop as a quarterback, and then be ready to compete the following season with presumably KJ Lacey. And I think KJ Lacey is very good. I think KJ Lacey is a point guard playing quarterback. And if you can get a guy that's just as good at both, you have a chance to be a really good player because you're accustomed to all the bigs flying around you all the time in both sports. And he was a very good point guard growing up that transitioned to football. His dad was a college basketball player. So I think KJ Lacey is very talented. Size be damned. I don't care. He's a very talented player. Bobby, that brings us to the next point of it's not being talked about in the portal, but I could see Texas going after a third-team quarterback so they could for sure preserve Dia Bell's redshirt year, give him that year, building his body, building his frame up so you don't get into a Missouri situation if you have bad luck.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think they will look at it. I think much like Matthew Caldwell, they're going to look at it at the end of the portal and try to comb it over.
Yeah.
To your point, Jerry, I think that's their thought process at this point. Whether right or wrong. I think that they don't need to be at the top of the market for a backup quarterback, because I do think they like KJ Lacey quite a bit right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to be fair, though, because I don't want people to take the wrong way. Joey Austin said KJ Lacey or Kyler Murray. No, Kyler Murray's a special athlete and a unicorn at his size. He really was. I don't want to put that on KJ Lacey.
And we got another.
Kyler Murray has 4.4 speed.
At least, yeah.
KJ Lacey is a point guard mover.
Yeah,
but he's not 4.4.
Yeah. I mean, Kyler Murray, I think to this day, is still the only guy to be drafted top 10 in baseball and football. Top 10 overall. He was a unicorn athlete.
We got another super chat regarding what we're talking about here from Shoney. Shoney says, Sark's offense is incredibly hard for a true freshman to execute.
Yes. I agree. And the speed of the game, and everybody thinks speed of the game and processing, getting ball out of hand. It's also the movement skills. That's very difficult. SEC has, you can argue what's the best conference, but the SEC defensively has elite athletes, pass rushers, and guys who close on the football.
Let's narrow that down. Let's not just take that. Like, who really is going to be called upon potentially? Who's going to be called upon potentially as a true freshman on offense? It's not many. I think it's two guys.
Yeah.
Jermaine Bishop and Derek Cooper.
Yeah.
So it's not like 20 guys need to be ready to go on offense next in come August, September. It's two guys.
Yep.
Jermaine Bishop, in my opinion, and Derek Cooper.
Yep.
Those are the two. You get those two ready and focus a lot on those. And then maybe Jet Walker just for depth at running back, inside depth. I think those are the ones you have to focus on. So it's, while it making a broad statement makes it sound, oh yeah, man, it is harder, because in truth be told, it is harder, guys, but it's not as broad a need or concern as maybe you think it is with that kind of statement.
Yeah, and we talked about Derek Cooper, freshman running backs. The biggest thing in front of Derek Cooper, in my opinion, is for running backs when they go into major college football. There's two things for me. One, in high school, if you ever go watch guys in person, go watch a really good back and see that when they drop their eyes on contact, that they can still go win after that and have big runs, because they're arguably the best athlete, best player on the field. At the college level, if you drop your eyes on contact, and young backs often will at the college level, because those guys are closing faster and those hits are more vicious, they tend to drop their eyes on contact. Well, by the time you get your eyes up at an SEC level, you're getting hit again. So running backs have to learn how to keep their eyes up on contact at the major college level, especially in an SEC or Big Ten, where guys are big, strong, and fast, and they're closing on you fast. That's something to watch with young running backs. I think he's going to be really good. Oh, the Jets talked about Cohen Brown. Cohen Brown's a sneaky guy, chance to be a really good player. Sneaky. I mean, that kid works his you-know-what off.
Yeah, and I will say to add to what Jerry's saying, there are, when I said Jermaine Bishop, Derek Cooper are the two main ones, those are guys that I think a lot is expected of.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. There are guys every year that work their way into that somehow. Dalen McCutcheon did that look, Texas signed 4 wide receivers last year, we thought. McCutcheon was one of them, along with Michael Terry, Khalid Lockett, and Jamie French. Well, as a receiver, Dalen McCutcheon beat all of those guys out. He was number 4 on the list. And part of that was his know-how.
Yeah.
And so that can catapult people at times. So to your point about Cohen Brown, he could absolutely be one of those types of players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll see a little bit of that in spring. I mean, Dalen McCutcheon showed that in spring. Those guys that take to football like a duck to water, that's what you're really talking about.
Yeah.
And Grayson Littleton, same thing. Duck to water when it comes to football, right?
Yeah.
There are going to be guys in this recruiting class that we just showed to start this that will step up like that. Who they are, Jerry and I are guessing right now. And I'll tell you this much: coaches are guessing.
Yes.
About that because they haven't seen them on a field yet. They've watched their film, they've talked to them, they get a sense of it. But until that football goes on the practice field, they're guessing just as much as you or I.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of life.
Grayson Littleton zipped right past any college's expectation that recruited him.
Yeah, within 2 practices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just didn't know. You don't, I mean, we can go out there and be as good as we want to be as recruiting experts or whatever. Good luck knowing whether they can really take to that the way that some kids are able to. And that comes from, I didn't have Grayson Littleton being the first starter of the 2025 recruiting class. You know, no chance that I have that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Before we move on, we got some more questions and super chats. We got more to talk about. But first, I'm going to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks. And this episode of Coffee and Football is brought to you by Prize Picks. And whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. Prize Picks lets you take control. I said it yesterday, but I cashed in on the Josie special last week. I went 3 of 3 on my picks, tripled my money thanks to Oregon and Miami. Now, I haven't made picks for the national championship, but I will look soon. And with the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Pick partners like myself and tail or fade our picks with just one click. And Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and right here in Texas. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code ONTEXAS will get you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And next, we're going to have a word here from Vince and Colt.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right. Just want to thank both of them for sponsoring today. Man, we got more super chats to get into this morning, fellas. So let's just jump right in. We got some regarding Seaton. So let's go back to that. Rocky P here says, who plays right tackle if Texas goes after him? That's going to take some convincing someone to flip sides. And then on a much related note, Jesse, why would Seaton choose to go to Texas and play right tackle over left tackle anywhere else? Would Gooseby move? He says he doesn't think that's realistic.
I don't think we're dealing in realism here. This is the transfer portal. Is there anything real about it? I mean, no, you know, Jerry, I mean, what's real about the transfer portal? It's fantasy land because you can make your own fantasy team up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because if Seaton actually goes into, if he follows through and goes into the portal, until he does, there's been a couple of guys that were in the portal that were left tackles that Texas talked to, and they were like, nope, I want to stay at left tackle.
Yep.
Zalance Hurd was one of those who I believe signed with Kentucky as a left tackle. So I think if once somebody goes into the portal, then I think those discussions get real is what happens. And then you kind of really see, okay, what are the odds of this being actually possible, truly, once you have those discussions, because I don't think anything's a lock on this stuff, anything, because leverage is the game.
Leverage, and I would go even further. I mean, look, I think that if you're Texas and you have a chance to get a Jordan Seaton, I think the answer to this question is, does he make you a better football team? The answer is yes, unequivocally. He makes you a better football, whether that's at left tackle, right tackle, guard, whatever the hell. Okay, now he's going to be expensive. So Trevor Gooseby, I mean, he was on the show. Expensive. Okay. My thought process on this is just different than I think some people's are. They're worried about who's going to play left, who's going to play right. The question, if you're the head football coach at the University of Texas, Utah, for example, had 2 first-round draft picks at offensive tackle this year. Do you think they were worried about who played left and who played right, or were they just happy to have 2 first-round draft picks? What it would do, I think, almost assuredly, is kick Brandon Baker inside, which may be his better position currently. I think he was a little young to be playing tackle last year, and I think he kicks into right guard no matter what. And then you have Nick Brooks and those guys, Dylan Sikorsky and a couple others fighting for the left guard spot. So my take on it, Jerry, is don't worry about who plays what, because I don't think that's – look, I don't think Jordan Seaton's scared of competition, and I don't think Trevor Gooseby's scared of competition. So let them get after it and figure it out. If you can get both of them, it would be a rare feat to get both of them. No question. You may have to climb Mount Everest to get it to happen. Okay. All I know is I think Texas would try to make that happen if he indeed goes into the portal. And we have to wait for that to be official to really see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
Oregon, by the way,
who lost their left tackle.
Yeah, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Florida, a couple others thought to be involved if he does go in the portal. So it's not just this, he's going to Texas kind of scenario. So I would wait on that. And some people are saying, well, is he going in with a no contact tag? I think the no contact tag right now is about worthless.
Yeah.
Because all of these guys have agents, and it's a no contact tag for the player and the family, not for the agents.
Yeah.
And so Kedu Luave entered with a no contact tag.
But he was going to look at 3 schools.
Yeah, exactly. And so don't worry about the no contact tag. That may have been worth it early in the process. I don't think it is late. And let these guys try to kick butt, and see who's the best if you get them both on campus somehow miraculously with the look, if Texas were to get Jordan Seaton, they are a better football team next year, period. How it all works out is the minutia that's up to Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood and those guys, not you or me.
And we'll stay on the whole Seaton offensive line thing. Preston here says, if we do land Seaton, what's the lineup?
Lord.
This is what we're talking. We just went through this, Blake. We can't say it anymore. I mean, I think you have 2 first-round draft picks on the offensive line at either tackle. I think you have Brandon Baker probably at right guard at that point. I think you have Connor Robertson at center. And then Nick Brooks, Dylan Sikorsky, and maybe a couple others are fighting for left guard. Maybe guys that go in the portal still. I just want to – the portal is still open. We've got 4 full days left of the portal. I mean, I don't think Texas feels like they're done. So let's see what happens.
And that should answer the question here for you, Big Poke. He says, is there any more offensive line that are in the portal that's available now?
So I think there might be a couple that could be considered depth, but are there any surefire starters in the portal other than potentially Jordan Seaton And I don't know that Texas sees it that way at this time. So if that but again, got 4 more days left in the portal. Y'all didn't expect this bomb to happen last night, right? With Jordan Seaton. I don't think, a lot of people didn't expect it to happen. There are going to be more bombs in this portal, in my opinion, whether that's on the offensive line or other positions.
Yeah, I'm really looking to see what happens on the 16th. On the 16th, how many guys drop their name late in the portal, right before semester start, and it's kind of more of a sign that, hey man, you can try to negotiate, but I'm out. I'm going to be interested to see if anybody drops of note on the 16th, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but be interesting to see. It'll happen for somebody. I'm not saying it's going to be anybody Texas has interest in, but there's going to be a couple, 3 guys that drop on that last day, probably late at night, that announce they're going in.
Whew. And one other one on Seaton, this one from Juan Garza. He says, I'm worried about Seaton, unlike Coleman, that this would be an NIL recruitment. You know how Oregon money whipped Texas several times around.
Me personally, if he actually follows through and goes in, I think the biggest decision Jordan Seaton has to make is Oregon or another school more attractive from a being guaranteed to play left tackle than somewhere that it may not be guaranteed. I mean, because we've had Zalance Hurd made his decision based on that. He wanted to stay at left tackle. So we'll see what these guys, a guy like that does.
I want to say this as well. Jordan Seaton considered a better prospect than Zalance Hurd.
Oh, no question.
Yeah. And so I would not worry about Oregon. Texas is not, when Texas wants somebody, they're not beat on money. Just telling you, Oregon has done that in the high school ranks. They haven't done that per se in the portal with players that Texas has wanted. So I don't think that's the case.
And one other one from Juan, Jerry. He's going to, I guess, put you on the spot here. He says, was the high of the silent portal commitment Wendell Gregory?
Time will tell.
Well, we've talked about the portal, but let's talk about some current players. We got some super chats regarding players that are on campus or new on campus. This one here from Foster. Yes. Will Kosi Okpala be an overhang linebacker?
Yeah, look, he is a downhill player. That's where he's at his best. He played almost exclusively edge as a senior. His junior year, he played some middle backer. I do think that's what that is his best position in Will Muschamp's scheme. And I'm not saying you can't develop, but coming in, yes. I think the same for Rocky Cummings, by the way. I think Tyler Atkinson is your for sure off-ball backer of the linebackers that sign. But Tyler Atkinson has a lot of qualities Biles, Ty Anthony Smith have. They have 3 guys that are super athletic and instinctive at that position right now. I think and Justin Cryer is a thumper as an inside guy, a gap, B gap guy. So we'll see if they add one more. I think they probably need to cover themselves due to injury.
And then our next one this morning comes from Hookem Money Sign. It says, y'all's thoughts on Michael Terry as a flex tight end?
I think he'll be at running back in the spring. I don't think it's just – I think some people are just saying, oh, Michael Terry, just hand him the ball, he'll be fine at running back. He needs to develop at one position for me. So whatever he's at, I hope he stays at. It's going to be running back in the spring. I just hope he stays there because he spent most of his redshirt year working to develop at wide receiver, move the running back. He's never sat on one position for a single year and worked at developing on that. It's very similar to Jelani McDonald coming out of high school because he played everywhere out of necessity and need. And he was high school quarterback as much as anything late in his high school career. I think with Michael Terry, I just hope he gets a chance to develop at one position because there is still development. I mean, he'll go into the spring still not having been hit full speed by an SEC defensive player at running back. So you won't even get to see that until next season.
And one for you, Jerry, from F Shanks 46. He says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Jermaine Bishop's athleticism?
Great question for me. I think with a football in his hand, I think he's a 9. I think from a testing standpoint, if you put him through an NFL combine, he's probably an 8. And that's a compliment to him as a football player. Because there's going to be guys that run faster than him. If you put him through a NFL combine testing with, say, the guys that were at the Under Armour game or the Navy game, there's going to be guys that run a faster 40, may have a little bit quick 0.05 better shuttle, may have 2 inches more on a vertical at the same age. But with a football in his hand, I think he's a 9. And I do think this about him. I think he's going to get more than NFL combine stuff. I think as he gets stronger, he's been a multi-sport guy. I mean, he was literally running point guard for Willis High on the basketball court this year until it was time to go to Austin. I mean, so he's been a multi-sport guy. I could see him actually getting – he reminds me of a South Florida kid that I've covered for years, that he has so much strength he can gain on this frame. And once kids like that do that, they can still get more explosive. And I think he's one of those guys. I think he will be a 9 on field athleticism, and I do think he'll be a 9 testing guy as well. I don't think he's going to be as fast as – I don't think he's putting up a time like a Xavier Worthy or Matthew Golden. I don't think he's going to do that. But I think with a football in his hand, he's about as athletic as it gets.
And on a related note, Antoine here with the follow-up question. Jerry, could you see the Jermaine Bishop returning kicks next season?
Yes. The question is, do they get creative in their punt return game? They had 2 returners back a couple of times this year. You can get creative in your return game with a Jermaine Bishop and a Ryan Niblett if you want at times. Kickoff, Bobby, it depends on how much stronger he gets because, man, you can take some wild shots as a 170-pound kickoff return man.
Yeah. Michael Terry was returning kicks with Ryan Niblett last year. You remember that at the end of the year against Michigan? I don't know. I think I see him more as a punt returner.
Yeah, I do too.
And Ryan Niblett's really, really good as a punt returner right now, guys. So I don't know how he's going to overcome a first or second team all SEC punt returner. But you never know. I mean, they'll get these guys on the field and see what happens. One thing that I think is important, Jerry and Blake, that I would wanted to mention that I did not mention at the outset. Some of the guys that are going elsewhere right now that are former Longhorns, I believe, and I got news yesterday evening, and I did not post it until this morning. Former Longhorn DeAndre Moore, according to a source, is expected to announce today between Kentucky and Colorado. So I know he visited Ohio State, Louisville, and some others, but it sounds like Kentucky and Colorado are the 2 favorites. Colorado, by the way, the new offensive coordinator there is Brennan Marion, the former Texas wide receivers coach who helped recruit DeAndre Moore to Austin in the first place. So keep that in mind. Didn't mean to sidebar the whole Jermaine Bishop conversation, but wanted to mention that while I had it on top of mind.
You good?
The chat's funny. Kentucky Longhorns, University of Texas at Lexington. I like it.
They've got 2 so far, right? With Bo Barnes and C.J. Baxter.
Yeah.
Yep. Will Stein at Kentucky is spending more money than I thought they would be able to.
Yeah.
Right. Zalance Hurd as well. We mentioned that. Offensive tackle. They're spending more money than I thought they would in football.
Tegra Shabola, the offensive guard from Ohio State.
Yeah.
I believe he's from Cincinnati, I believe, or in that area. But yes,
like 75 miles to Lexington.
Well, let's continue the questions about some of the newer players on campus. This one here, I say newer. This one's been on campus for a year, but T-Top Network. What do you think Khalid Lockett's path to the field is? Development should be next level under Coleman and Wingo. If we can retain him, hook him.
path to the field is getting stronger, quicker, faster. I mean, I think what Khalil Lockett clearly does well, from what I've been told, is he is a good 50-50 ball catcher. He's a smart guy when the ball is in the air, understands body positioning, all of that stuff. His bigger issue is getting actually open underneath because he's not super quick and not super fast. He has a good line get off, but I think that he's got to improve as a mid-range guy. That's where his effort needs to be over the next 6 months, at least. He needs to get a little bit stronger over the middle of the field. Greetings from Antarctica. Look, that makes all 7 continents, no doubt, right?
Yep.
Greetings from Antarctica. Thanks, OTFE team, for keeping me updated and informed, even from the bottom of the planet. Hoping Texas finishes strong in the portal. Wow.
Wait.
That makes 7 continents, by the way. That's got to be all of them.
What did he get?
Australia,
What did he get sick of? The best weather and the best views, Laguna Beach Longhorn? You just finally got sick of all that crap you were dealing with every day?
Have you seen the – wait, time out. Apparently there's a southern passage – well, there has to be a southern passage to Antarctica, and they have all these videos and the waves on these boats that these boats hit, tour boats, they're like 10 to 20 feet high for 6 to 7 hours of the trip. And literally people are just puking. I would be.
Nah.
I would be. As we talk about exit strategies yesterday, that would be mine.
Yeah.
But anyways, long story short, I hope you're having fun in Antarctica. That's awesome.
Can't wait till you get back to Laguna.
Yeah. Now we just need someone on the International Space Station to load up coffee and football. That would be awesome.
By the way,
I'm sure there's a Longhorn up there at some point.
Yeah. By the way, the chat's pretty funny saying Kentucky's switching their alliance fans from basketball to football. That will never happen.
Yeah.
That's the all-in basketball program.
Time out. Would you have said that about Indiana 20 years ago?
No.
Pre-Signetti? You would have, Jerry.
No,
Hoosiers.
They won't spend. They aren't backing off their basketball NIL at Kentucky.
Hoosiers, though. I mean, think about it. The whole basketball movie.
They've been bad for a long time, though. Average.
Oh, Indiana has been? Yeah. Kentucky hasn't been that down in basketball, to your point.
No.
I got you.
No.
Not quite.
$21 million NIL basketball team right now. That means your average guy, your average pay per player is well over 7 figures for how many scholarships they're spending in basketball. And that's why Mark Pope has some interesting comments out there, because he's hating life.
All right, our next super chat this morning comes from Noah Vaughn. Thank you, Noah. How come we're not hearing much about turn time at one of those guard spots?
He needs time just to add the weight. And I've said this before. He is a super, super strong and athletic 273, 275 pounds is what he was all season. And when I was through there, athlete on the offensive line. He's a 620-pound squatter at 275 pounds. That number is insane. He just needs time to add the weight to his frame. Athletically, he's elite. Strength-wise, for his age and size, he's elite. But he needs to add the 25 pounds. And he doesn't have to play at 315, 320. There's plenty of guys, Beachum, been in the NFL a long time at 305 pounds playing tackle. It's not you don't have to be 315, 320. If you're athletic and you have the length, he's an 82, I think 81, 82 wingspan guy. You're athletic and you're super strong and you're super intelligent. But he does needs the time to add that 20 pounds.
And then we got a super chat this morning from Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. Who is the middle linebacker in a 4-3 and the quarterback of the defense?
I'd be really surprised if it's not Ty Anthony Smith, man. Given how much he came on near the end of the season, and how smart he is as a player, I And he's not your typical inside linebacker. He's not big, thick, trunk, but I could be wrong, but I think they're going to lean on him a little bit this year. I firmly believe that. So I think
because I think you're going to move Biles all around. I mean, Pitt blitzed him a lot because he's so good at it. 31.5 tackles for loss in the last 20 games, 2 seasons. He is such a good blitzer, downhill player, but he also great in pass coverage. Don't get me wrong, but you move him around a lot. So I don't think it'll necessarily be him. I think you're looking more at Tynee Smith, Justin Cryer.
Yep.
Wanted to read this to you, Bobby. So this is from Laguna Beach Longhorn. He says, Bobby, thanks for the shout out. By the way, we avoided the Drake Passage challenges by flying over it and landing in King George Island, Antarctica, and then boarded a Nat Geo Orion with some Wi-Fi. Hook 'em.
Oh, Jesus.
That's crazy.
I can't imagine flying into Antarctica. What do you just say? Did you see nothing but white for miles? Is that basically like, how do you even tell it's I guess just GPS, but geez. Look, I long to be the guy that can go around and do those kinds of things. I want to go see the pyramids in Egypt. Never done that. I want to go do that. Crawling on board an operable, what did he say? Bobby Petronic, an operable Lockheed Electra may be more impressive than an Antarctica check-in. Bobby Petronic is a for those unaware, is a pilot. So he's always out and about.
Hey, this is actually an interesting question from the chat, and I think a good one. Can we patch Laguna into the show? We should send him the show link and see what he show. Like, what does his video? Where's he at? That would be great for OTF people to actually see that.
Only if he sees a polar bear, though.
Laguna, you ready to go live? By the way, congrats when you get back to Laguna Beach. Still, glad you're having a good time.
Juan Garza has a follow-up super chat to you, Bobby. He says, Bobby, with all due respect, Mikey Bennett chose Oregon over Texas. Do you think that the Nike money didn't come into play?
Their money is the same color as Texas. I don't think. Look, do y'all really think Texas is being outbid when Texas just won the Cam Coleman sweepstakes? Is that what y'all really think? I mean, everybody was at the same rate for Cam Coleman. Texas won Cam Coleman not because they paid the absolute most or weren't willing to go as high as A&M or whoever. They won because they won the recruitment. Everybody is around the same dollar figure. So while I think that Oregon's money matters, it only puts them in the race, just like Texas's money only puts them in the race. So do I think it matters that Oregon has money? Yes. Do I think that he chose Oregon over Texas because of money? No. I think he felt like it was the best fit. Oregon was, as of 2 days ago, was talking about playing Mikey Bennett at left tackle because they lost their left tackle. So maybe they used that pitch on Mikey Bennett where Texas couldn't. Correct, Jerry? You heard the same thing I did.
Well, no, yeah, and I think that's part of it too. Is it's one thing when somebody comes in and visits, says, "Hey, man, if you come here, so this guy can go play guard potentially." But then the school you're recruiting against says, "Hey, man, we lost our tackles. You're one of those guys for us." Look, I think that was a decision made. I think NIL. Now it was his only NIL recruitment of his career because he was at Yale. So I do think it was very important to him because he only gets one shot at it, but I don't think that was the determining factor with him.
Just FYI, Lee Barden, he announced, Sunday, that he is returning back to school. So good news there.
Hey, Connor Robertson's the name.
Sorry.
Don't forget his.
That's my fault. Connor Robertson, definitely. All right, Jerry, what I need you to do is tell everyone about one of our favorite products here, and that's Ridge Wallet.
Yes, absolutely. Look, I start this read the same way every time because I think it's actually number one after the RFID blocking technologies. It's you can, it's comfortable. Put it in your front pocket. Remember those old wallets that you used to stick in your big back pocket, the big ones with way too many business cards and everything you had in there, and it hurt your back on long drives, right? You just kind of felt weird if you made a long drive. Those days are over. This is a unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. Over 50 colors and styles to choose from, all including that UT color. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind knowing that Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology? It should. It keeps you safe from digital pickpocketers. There's over 100,000 5-star reviews and growing. Losing your wallet is the absolute worst. It sends you into panic and freak out mode. But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before that panic mode kicks in. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. They have a 99-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty on all their products. So that means, what do you do to get one? For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off by using code ONTexas at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use that code ONTexas, and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. That's pretty easy. On Texas football in Mayo. By the way, on that read, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber, for some reason I started thinking about Tiger Woods' leg. I don't know why. Hey, by the way, happy 50th birthday to the GOAT of golf.
Oh, man. And always good to get a viewer's response here to some of our ads. Brandon said, my fiance got me that wallet for Christmas. It's amazing. So don't just take our word for it. Take Brandon's as well. Great product there. No doubt about that. And another great product that I need to tell everyone about this morning is Hexclad. Man, I love me some Hexclad. We got a family of 5. We cook a lot, which means we need reliable, durable cookware that gets the job done. And I'm not talking about those cheap pans that food sticks to nonstop and that scratches really easily. In my household, we use Hexclad. They're hands down the best pans that my wife and I have ever used. And you get the performance of stainless steel and the convenience of nonstick in one pan. Not only are they good enough for us, but even Gordon Ramsay uses Hexclad in his restaurants and his home. And he's the toughest critic on the planet. If it's good enough for that guy, I promise you're going to love their products. And for a limited amount of time, our listeners can get 10% off your order. Just head to hexclad.com/OnTexas. Remember, Hexclad is durable and scratch resistant. Their patented hexagon design protects against scratches, even when using metal utensils. They're also oven safe. They can handle heat up to 500 degrees, and they come with a lifetime warranty. They literally last a lifetime. They're also dishwasher safe and simple to wipe clean after each use. It's seriously the best cookware I've ever owned. Don't just take my word for it. Try them out yourself. Remember, you can get 10% off. Support our show. Check them out at hexclad.com/OnTexas. Make sure to let them know that OTF sent you. Remember, bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware.
I think I just love hearing Blake say bon appetit instead of
bon appetit. Let's eat.
Funny, Blake. Hey, just to recap for folks that did not hear us, a couple of guys made decisions yesterday. Wendell Gregory, defensive end from Oklahoma State, has signed with Kansas State. Cade Uluwave, Cal linebacker that visited Texas, has signed with BYU. Jordan Seaton has announced that he is going to enter the transfer portal. He's an offensive tackle from Colorado, considered now or expected to be one of the top offensive linemen or one of the top overall players in linemen. I think a couple of places that rank these recruits or these portal guys already have him as the number 1 player in the portal overall. He is a devastating tackle. Will be a first-round draft pick next year. Texas is being linked with him, although I want to say this and make sure everybody understands, he has not actually gone in the portal yet. He's just announced he's going in the portal. Colorado will have 48 hours roughly to try to get a deal with him before he actually enters his name into the portal. Furthermore, something similar to this happened with Delano Townsend, an offensive lineman out of Ole Miss, who announced that he was going into the portal on Saturday. Well, this morning he announced he had reached a new agreement with Ole Miss. So wait until they actually go into the portal, and then the pursuit gets very, very real, in my opinion. Oh, one other news, Warren Roberson entered the portal yesterday, defensive back for the University of Texas, if you missed that too.
All right, more super chats rolling in this morning, so we're going to jump back over to them. And let's see here. We got one from Flex2437 says, good morning, longtime Longhorn in Atlanta. When it comes to running back, could another downhill option be James Simon, especially if he adds 10 pounds?
I don't know if he's – look, I think James Simon has a chance to be a really good player. He's a physical runner. He is a very physical on contact, even though he was playing about 207 this year, 210. I do think 221, 223 is probably his tap out weight, maximize weight, whatever you want to call it. I think because of the physicality he runs with and the instincts he has, I think he's going to be a pile mover for sure, and he's going to run. He's going to run very physical. Is he what you would define a downhill power back? No. Would I define him as a really talented back? Yes.
And then our next one here comes from Texas Blake 1. Have any players taken the pay cut and decided to stick it out?
That's a good question. I think a couple haven't necessarily taken. So here's one thing. Taking a pay cut is irrelevant. You're worth what you're worth on a year-to-year basis. I mean, there are guys that got paid more as freshmen that are going to end up taking less as sophomores because they didn't make the grade, or they didn't necessarily find a place that they're playing right away at Texas. So yes, but we'll see where everything comes out. We still have 3 or 4 days left, but I think fundamentally some players understand their pecking order isn't as high as maybe they hoped it had been, and there are some of those out there for Texas, without question. But it's not – don't use the – my problem here is using the term taking a pay cut. I mean, that's not what that is. So it's more fundamental, what are you worth this year? I mean, I'll give you an example. What happens if you're injured? Do you consider that a pay cut? I don't. I mean, that's just what you're worth this year. This isn't a 9-to-5 job, I guess, right? That you're doing the same thing over and over. It's based on needs, where you're at in your own development, things like that, vis-a-vis your own roster.
And then we got one from Clark Douglas says, could the opportunity to go against Colin Simmons every day at practice help with Seaton?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what a decision would be based on. Look, I think, anywhere he goes, I'll say this, how kids perceive the SEC is always interesting in terms of that. Think back to Trevor Goosby's interview with us the other night. He mentioned about 6 or 7 guys he went up against, and they're all going to be high draft picks. So I don't think practice would come into that for Jordan Seaton. I think if he picked an SEC school, I do think he would talk about that being part of it for sure. But I don't think he's going to make his last 1-year decision off of that necessarily.
What did you think when we interviewed Trevor Goosby? He said the hardest guy he went up against in a game was Michael Williams.
Yeah.
Remember that? I was like, okay, that means that guy is fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he went on to mention the Arkansas guy, A&M guy, et cetera. But Michael Williams, you learn a lot when you talk to players like that, when you ask them questions and they have immediate answers.
Yeah.
Now, if it takes them a while to kind of stew around and him and Haw, then it means they're all kind of clumped together in their mind. But when there's a singular player and it's an almost immediate answer, that means that cat is different. So.
You know what else and it wasn't the time to ask Trevor that, but the crazy thing about that is he wasn't the most productive player. Georgia fans would argue, well, we wish we'd gotten more out of Michael Williams, but it was that combination of his natural strength plus his speed and quickness. And then he was developed. I think, was it Trey Scott at Georgia does a really good job, kind of like Kenny Baker as a pass rush guy. I wonder if part of that too was because he played inside his right eye. That's different. Like a left tackle, Bobby, if you're a left tackle, it's very rare that you guys that line up head up or inside your right eye. That's totally different than most of the guys you go up against that are outside your left eye and you know where they're going. Michael Williams, he plays inside your right eye or off your right eye. That's a totally different thing for a left tackle to me. Like Cassius Howell was going to line up outside of Gooseby. A lot of those guys you go up against, they're lining up outside and you know where they're going. With Michael Williams, you knew, oh shoot, this guy could come. He could run a power or speed game at me inside. I think for a left tackle, if there's a quality player like that, that gives them a different feel and a different type of player than they're accustomed to going against.
Yeah, it's a 2 or 3 way go, is what you're saying, as opposed to just an outside move and then you just got to worry about a lighter move to the inside.
I mean, like Miami lines Ruben Bain up as a 9 a lot of times. You know where he's going. He's not going to go all the way back inside from a 9. So I think Michael Williams, that's why I hope Lance Jackson can kind of become some of that when Muschamp's in a 3-man front, because that size, athleticism, length combo he has could be very similar to Michael Williams, I think, versus being an outside edge in a 4-man front.
All right, we got a couple that we're going to veer away from the portal and the current team here. And let's start with this one from Terrence. And he says, off topic, but tell me, why is South Carolina, and he's talking about women's basketball, why is South Carolina and UCLA ranked above Texas, and Texas has handed them their only losses? Of course, the Horns' first loss came to number 6 LSU on Sunday.
I don't have the answer. I agree with you. I think they should still be 2. Now, they play at South Carolina coming up, right? And Vic pointed that out with the Thursday. I mean, look, I think UConn's the clear number 1. I think Texas, if they can get Aaliyah Crump back soon, this will be the best team Vic's at. I don't think there's any question.
I agree.
I mean, UConn women shoot about 40% from 3. It's ridiculous. You're really going to have to. They're ridiculous scoring a basketball. And people say, well, who have they played? Who does UConn ever play until they win national championships? They're not in the SEC or Big Ten conference, but it hasn't stopped them from winning any national championships.
And then our next one here comes from Mike. Mike says, off topic, but is the job that Kirk Cignetti has done at Indiana the single greatest coaching performance in college football history? Then Mike says he coached at his alma mater, Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
IUP. I think that it's certainly up there, if not the greatest turnaround we've ever seen. And that with the velocity we saw it. So, I mean, from the outhouse to the penthouse, legitimately in a year.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever seen that. I will still say that the resurrection that Bill Snyder performed at Kansas State, I mean, because even Indiana has a lot more resources than Kansas State ever did, in my opinion. But you can't, I can't come up with anybody that has done what Kurt Cignetti has done in a 2-year period. It's like I just mentioned to Jerry. I mean, he basically made Indiana a football state in 2 years. I mean, that's an ethos turnaround. That's a cultural turnaround. which it adds to even more what he did on the field. So I can't think of one. I'm sure they're probably somebody's going to come up with one and you know name these names. But in recent college football history, it took Nick Saban 2 years to get good. He wasn't great the first year, right? I mean, it's phenomenal. And to all his credit, I know Kurt Cignetti gets a lot of the credit and deserves a lot of the credit. I'm just telling you, I can't believe that somebody hasn't taken his offensive and defensive coordinator. And I mean, as the head coaches, because they are as well coached a team, and that ain't the head coach only. I'm just telling you, to be that well coached, it takes multiple guys. And their offensive and defense, and Kirk Cignetti was not an offensive and or defensive guy. He coached offense for most of his career. He's really grew up as a recruiting coordinator. I'm here to tell you that their offense and their defensive coordinators are really, really talented young people.
Yeah.
I think that those two may end up being themselves elite head coaches long term.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, and somebody else you brought up the name Nick Saban. I want to bring up a few guys, but in the portal era, like if Nick Saban jumped to Alabama in the portal era from Miami, who knows? I mean, who knows what that could have been? What if Urban Meyer goes to Florida and he brings the quarterback with him at the time?
Yeah,
Alex Smith. I mean, what does that look like? So it's hard to compare because the portal era, once you take a job, if you can bring a lot of those guys, your best players with you. I mean, can Oklahoma State, they're not going to do what Indiana did. Can they go from absolutely abysmal last year to 7 or 8 wins in 1 year? And he got his quarterback, his running back, and a lot of his other pieces. So not out of the question. I mean, but in the portal era, it's going to be hard to ever best that. I will say that because of where he's doing it at, where he pulled a lot of his players from. That means they did a great job in evaluation and development at James Madison. That's going to be hard, and he made the right decision at quarterback in the portal. Now, by the way, that's another interesting thing we can talk about the national championship game when it gets closer. But Mendoza's from Miami, and Indiana went Mendoza, and Miami went back. If Indiana ends up winning it with Mendoza after he won the Heisman, it doesn't matter what type of season Miami had, and they've had a great season. The Miami fans will be like, we picked the wrong guy.
Well, they probably did pick the wrong guy.
Yeah.
But Miami won a title with Ken Dorsey at quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's not – Miami wins – theoretically, in my opinion, Miami has won titles with bus drivers at quarterback.
Yeah.
Carson Beck is a glorified bus driver, in my opinion. And he gets in wrecks too often.
By the way,
those interceptions.
What the crazy thing? Somebody just brought this up in the chat. Vacundi, I think it's a great point. If Cignetti didn't tell Dabo he was wrong in his approach, clearly wrong in his approach, not wanting to go to the portal, and look at what happened with Indiana and Clemson in 2-year period. Man,
Clemson's a example, shining example of when you don't adapt.
Yeah,
you're so
100%.
stubborn,
100%.
that it hurts everyone around you, and you don't care. It's very selfish, almost narcissistic.
Yeah,
you don't look and actually read the room and listen to what other people are doing and having success with. That Clemson has a real issue. Is he Nero while Rome burns? The emperor that just watches it all. That's the appearance he gives to me. And I know some people are like, oh no, he's Clemson fans. Some guys that are well-heeled donors there are not happy with that direction because they see him failing to adapt.
And this is the most. He has 10 guys in the portal this year. Now it's being forced.
Yeah.
Now it's being forced. He has 10 transfers coming into Clemson. Now it's being forced. But he lost he lost a lot with that decision for about
I think he's lost 6 starters to the portal too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it ain't just 10 guys that are just additions.
Yeah.
All right. We got one other super chat here. This one from Rocky P. Thank you again, Rocky P. How does Tech feel right now seeing more tape of Ojo getting set down? Another video came out yesterday. Texas should thank Tech for overspending on him, or the jokes would be relentless.
A lot of talent needs to lock in to actually that. And I think offensive linemen who spend all their time on social media worry me. I'll say
You know what my bigger question is about Ojo is this. So Texas Tech, when Ojo signed, Ojo's agent came out and said it was $5 million for 3 years for him. And then Texas Tech said, whoa, wait a minute. It's actually 1.5 over 3 years, or 1.7 over 3 years, unless it goes back to the Wild West. Okay. So Cody Campbell's either on the hook for 1.7 or 5.1. My question is, isn't it back to the Wild West? Shouldn't they be paying Felix Ojo 1.7 a year? 1.7 times 3 is 5.1. If I were his agent, that's what I would be screaming right now. And so that's where you get into these scenarios that I think are quite interesting.
All right, Bobby, before we get to our last question or two, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about Texas Road.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friend Rick Vavro and the guys at Texas Road, they are your full-service solution for major road projects around the state of Texas, and particularly in the Austin area, with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're also able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, if you need any kind of road work done around the state of Texas, especially in the Austin area, make sure you check out our friend Rick Vavro and the guys at Texas Road. They also have a sister company called Austin Underground that helps perform all those engineering feats underneath the city of Austin that you see going on with all that construction work. Make sure you check out Rick Vavro and the guys at Texas Road or Austin Underground. Thanks, Rick.
Like I said, we got time for just one or two more questions before we get out of here. And let's do this one from F Shanks 46. Who do you guys think will be the fastest player on the team in 2026?
Wingo? Is there anybody really, really fast coming in that you can think of, Jerry? Sprinter? Filsami had some sprint times.
Yeah, no, he's fast. He's fast. Track fast. I mean, yeah, I think.
What about Smothers?
I think Smothers. I think Raleek Brown's faster.
Okay.
I think Raleek Brown's faster.
That's a good question.
It's a really good question. It's a really good Niblet. Niblet's going to be up there. Niblet's faster on a track. So it's a good question.
We don't have the absolute answer right now. There's not a 10-1 guy on this roster.
I can tell you that in the summer before you had the re-injury of the hamstring, Jonah Williams was way up there. Was way up there in their catapult timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll do one last one here. And let's take this one from Jeff. He says, heading into 2026, which side of the ball are you most excited about? He's saying he has a hard time deciding between the offense and defense.
I agree with that. I mean, my part of it is you're so excited to see Will Muschamp be so different.
Yeah.
Because he is categorically different in how he coaches. And I don't know that the results are necessarily going to be so starkly different, but his approach to defense is different than that of Pete Kwiatkowski. He forces opposing offenses a little more. Texas could have more firepower, though, on offense this year than they've had in a long, long time. I'm probably more looking forward to changes in defense. Even though we could talk about offense or defense, the central point of 2026, though, will, in my opinion, be how good is Arch Manning? I mean, we don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. He has played a whale of a game against Michigan, did he not? I mean,
yeah, we definitely haven't seen his ceiling, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what we have not seen that kid's ceiling.
No.
So I would probably go defense just because of style of play. And then just where is Arch Manning 12 months from now, man? Hopefully he's getting ready to play in a national championship game, but literally, but my point being, I mean, Texas has a chance to have a guy that goes 1-1. When's the last time Texas had a player go 1-1? Is it Kenneth Sims? In the late or early 80s?
Yeah.
So it's a rare feat. So we'll see.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Texas Road. We want to thank them, along with Advanced Pain Care, Hexclad, Ridge, and Prize Picks, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, what can they tune into later today?
Recruiting breakdown. Jerry Hamilton, CJ Vogel, Jeff Al going to get after it, talk a little recruiting in the portal. We'll see if we hear more on Jordan Seaton. I said there's a 48-hour window they have to enter the name. Some schools do that early if they're not going to be competitive. So we'll be monitoring that. I will also tell you, I do not think this is the last big name that goes in the portal or the end of the portal period. And I do think that there could still be more attrition from the Longhorn roster itself. So all of that in play as we circle in this into the portal session right now.
Don't forget, over at ontexasfootball.com, we still have our Portal Madness sale going. Limited time offer. You get your first month for $1. New subscribers only. No promo code needed. No special sign up. Just ontexasfootball.com. And come join us. Join in on the community over there. Up to the minute date updates. The best place to get the news, because we can't be here live all the time. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow morning. We hope you all have an outstanding day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.